multiple platforms to not a bazillion people, but I'm gonna keep streaming regardless of my viewership and stuff. I will try very hard to check the chat, but it's coming in from multiple platforms, and I'm using a multi-streaming service, so pardon me if I don't get to you right away. Okay, so going back to okay, what was I gonna do? Okay, so the other couple things you want to be on the lookout for, and this is just to preview a little bit. The Senate races, we've got one, two, and I put West Virginia in here just to point out that that one's gonna flip for sure. But we've got one, well, we got a few interesting races to watch. I guess 9 or 10. Some of them are gonna flip. Many of them are not. It's gonna be. I'll tell you how we're doing in the Senate as we go. But these are the races to watch there probably. And then finally, I've put together about, I don't know, 25 House races or so. 15 of which are currently held by Republicans. 11 of which are currently held by Democrats. And I've also added Iowa 2 down here just to keep track of my Iowa stuff. And I seem to have frozen. Am I frozen? No, I'm not. Well, according not to Restream, but according not to OBS. But it looks like I'm frozen on Restream. I'm not. I don't like that. Hopefully I'm not frozen on Facebook. Anyway, I digress. I guess if I'm frozen, hopefully you can still hear me. Let me just reload this page. Let me see if that works. God bless it. Okay, I think we're good. We're good. Okay. So as you can see, like these house races, and they're by state. I've got the closing times for each state. So the first indicators we're going to start to see here, for example, Virginia 7 just closed. So that's actually something important we can look at. Virginia 7. I'll come back to Georgia in a minute. We don't have any data yet, but the polls just closed in Georgia and Virginia. And we're gonna, okay, and we do have a projection. Not that this matters, but I guess if you really wanted to, you could start playing this game where you start filling in states. So there's where we're at so far. Harris wins Vermont. Trump wins Kentucky. Okay, well, not I hate these ads. Not a shock. Love that. Okay, so we're starting to fill in the map. This is where the rubber meets the road. Ultimately, folks, this election's going to come down to basically Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, probably. Although it's possible North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and or Iowa will play a role. Also Nebraska, 2nd congressional district here. Might play a role. Okay. So anyway, let's go over to Virginia now and take a look at that state and see if there's any results there yet. We're looking at Virginia 7 because that is a swing district. This is a Democratic. It's like a D+1, meaning it's basically tied district in Virginia, and this is an interesting race because here it is. First of all, Eugene Vindman, the brother of Alexander Vindman, who testified at Trump's impeachment trials, running as a Democrat there against Derek Anderson. But this race was won by Abigail Spanberger last couple election cycles, and it's gone really down to the wire. I mean, if you really want it, you know, you can always just Virginia 07, and it's going to be the first thing that pops up. Well, I'm going to try to find the Wikipedia. Okay, so here we go. And it's, you know, this little area south of Washington, D.C. Median income, $110,000, so it's, you know, decently wealthy. And according to the last election here, Abigail Spanberger won that by a margin of, as you can see in my spreadsheet, 4.6, outperforming the PVI, the Cook Political Index, partisan vote index, there by 3.6%. That race we'll start to get some results there, but this is one of these races that can decide control of the House. So we're going to take a look at that throughout the night, but that's just one. In another half an hour, North Carolina 1 is going to close, and I'll show you North Carolina 1 real quick. If you go to North Carolina 1, Don Davis, the incumbent, against Lori Buckhouse, the Republican there. Now the reason that's closed, this is a Democratic held district where Davis won last time by 4.8, but it's only D+2. So if Republicans are going to have a good night tonight, they need to be thinking about winning districts like this. As you can see, the first few things on my list here are Democrats in closely held seats, or they're Democrats in even Republican-leaning seats that sometimes Donald Trump will have won. And we're going to start seeing those. It just so happens that the Democratic seats that are vulnerable come early, whereas most of the Republican ones come later. And by the way, this is not an exhaustive list. If you really want an exhaustive list, let's see. Is it the Cook or is it Sabado? If you go over to Sabado's site, they have a pretty good, I think, a pretty good. Is this the one? Well, I don't want the Electoral College, I want the House. That's their Senate call, and okay, here we go. Yeah, they have a pretty good here. So here's some of the people that are vulnerable. These red ones on the left of the screen are the Republicans in Democratic districts, and then if you go over to the right two columns, you see those three blue races, and those folks are Democrats in Republican-leaning districts. And so the idea is that whichever party's doing better is going to have a good shot at turning some of those districts, right? And as you can see, I mean, I put a lot of these races on my chart. This is like maybe almost twice as many as I put on my chart, though. I just put the main ones on my chart. So we're going to start to know some of that data real soon. But let's go back to Georgia and see if we're getting any data yet. Okay, no data yet. So, you know, and if you're watching like on TV tonight, you're going to have people starting to talk about the data. And in fact, it looks like they're talking about it right here. Should we turn it? Let's tune in.
30 electoral votes. The map gets very, very hard for Trump if he doesn't win Florida. Without Florida, his sort of strategy in the blue wall and everywhere else kind of collapses. He needed this in the win column. Still very early. Right now, statewide, only 18% of the vote is in. We can find out where that remaining vote is tonight. So you can see in the major cities, Tampa, we're still going to find out how that hurricane, both Milton and Helene, affected voters there. Pinellas County, just to the west.
But and I just because I don't want to get taken down. Oh, are we? What's happening here? What is happening? Is that just coded to not allow me to restream it? That's fine. Whatever. Point is, if you were able to see this, you would see that Harris has actually taken a small lead in Florida. So let's go over and just do that ourselves. So if you go to Florida, we're getting some data here. Okay, and it's basically neck and neck. Actually, Harris is down by 4. But that's like really close, and frankly, the margin of this Senate race, which I placed on my thing here, Rick Scott won the last time by 50.1%. It's R+3 state, and so when we go to the Florida data here, you expect Rick Scott to win by at least 3 or 4%, and to get over 50.1. He's doing that right now, but it's still close. It's still something that's competitive. This primarily, I would imagine, that we're seeing in this map so far is the early vote, I'm guessing. Now, Florida is interesting because if you zoom in a little bit, you can see there is there's all these counties, right? And so each county has certain population centers. There's Osceola County, which I believe is part of the Orlando area. Harris is winning there, albeit narrowly. Harris is also winning Broward County, one of the biggest Democratic counties. Miami-Dade being another big one. She's also leading in Duval County, which, you know, if you go to maps, you can see it's going to be the Jacksonville area. So. And Tallahassee, which is Leon County. So those 4 population centers Harris is leading. In the meantime, Trump has a pretty sizable lead in this somewhat populated county, Charlotte County. Charlotte County being right above St. Petersburg here in the north area of the Tampa, St. Petersburg area, kind of right in this area here. So Trump is leading there. This is early numbers. Actually, it might even be further north. Oh, you know what? I might be doing. I might have gotten the wrong Florida bay. I did. Okay, so there's two major bays on that side of Florida. And the south one here, Charlotte County and Lee County, are down on this bay. And my late grandmother was from Fort Myers, so I should know this, but looks like Trump is maybe winning some of these areas over here. But St. Petersburg, Tampa is not in yet, so my apologies for misstating. Oh, looks like we got some numbers here in Hillsborough County. That is the Tampa-St. Petersburg area for sure. Harris is narrowly leading there. This is a weird county because it's a mixture of urban and suburban, and Florida has a lot of crazy people, so you never know what you're going to get out of here, but I guess that's not a bad thing. And overall, going back to the total statewide results, Trump has expanded his lead slightly to 6 points here in Florida, 5.5 points or so. Okay, so it looks like they're calling the first Senate race. NBC is in Indiana for Jim Banks. That was not a significantly contested Senate race. All right, so if we go down to back to Florida real quick. As you can see, Trump is cranking up his margin here in Lee County, which is, I believe, Fort Myers area. Right here. Cape Coral, Fort Myers kind of area. Pretty conservative area. Cranking up the margin in Charlotte County, like I said. Sarasota County, much closer, but still Trump margin up here in Sarasota. And then the Broward County is 2/3 in. Harris is winning by a massive margin there, which we expect. Monroe County is small. Osceola County pretty big, but you know, very narrow margins there. Orange County, huge. I believe that's also part of the Orlando metro area. Let me just double check that. Yeah, so Orange County is most of Orlando, whereas Osceola County is just south of Orlando. That's sort of suburban Orlando. And Harris has got a decent lead there. Probably not enough to take the state or anything, so don't get too excited. But just to kind of check in on our third-party candidate, Jill Stein down here, it looks like she is down 2.3%. So that is giving Trump a modest lead, but not, you know, no blowout. It's still close enough to get competitive. Oftentimes you're going to see the rural Republican areas come in first, and then the more populated areas are going to come in later for the Democrats. So we'll see about that. Each state's a little different in this regard. And then if we go over to Leon County 65, well, these look like some early vote numbers. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I don't know enough about how Florida gets its vote in, but that is what we've got in Florida so far. Let's take a look at Georgia. Okay, Georgia is here, and we've got data here. It's very, very, very early. This is maybe, okay, about 3% of the vote. And if we were to go to the map here, you'll see that the vote is coming in several smaller counties. You know, this Brantley County, we've got about 6,000 folks casting their vote down there. Burke County, a few hundred. A few hundred here and there, a few thousand here and there. Now, if you want to talk about more important or meaningful counties, Rockdale County is in suburban Atlanta. That one, Harris is blowing Trump out of the water. In what I assume, again, some of the first numbers you're going to see reported on election day are early vote numbers. So some of these are very meaningless. Douglas County is a huge Atlanta suburban county. Harris is winning 2-1 there. Trump ahead in these rural counties as expected. And Gordon County, he's got quite a lead there. All right, so that's Georgia. Let's go up to Virginia again and take a look at that state and see if there's any data. We do have some data in general. Almost no data, just less than 1% of the vote, so no data there. Okay. And it looks like they've called another state for Trump. Let's see what they've called here. And again, I'm not going to rely simply on NBC, but I am going to use it for now. So they've got these two states for Trump, Vermont for Harris. Probably we'll get calls in. Okay, so we'll probably get a call in South Carolina pretty soon. Probably a call in Virginia for the Democrat pretty soon. South Carolina will go Republican. Georgia's going to be undecided for a long time, so that one's going to stay open. Florida might stay open for a little bit, but ultimately, it's hard for me to see Harris winning Florida. Okay, so that's just a little bit of analysis live here on my channel. I will be back. I'm going to probably take a minute and come back at the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to take a look at how things look then and see what it's looking like. Let's see. And they're talking about how the New York Times needle, is not going to be up this year because of I think it's because of a strike with the company there. Okay, so looking at, what is this? Is this an exit poll? This is E-Day data. I mean, if that's election day in Michigan, that's really good news. Not bad in North Carolina either. Nevada is about even. We probably need more. Although, again, some Republicans and independents will vote for Harris. So overall, there's going to be a little bit of a bonus there. Pennsylvania looks amazing. If that's election day, that's amazing. And then Wisconsin. Those are the three we need to win, by the way. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. What? I don't want to talk too much about. I don't know what that means. So, this is just the last New York Times poll. So it has Harris ahead in these several states. Bizarrely, not ahead in these two states, so it's just weird. Hopefully that spells good things, though. We'll see. I'm going over to this account again. When I come back and stream live later, I'll have more accounts. I had to like close out all my stuff because I had to redo my streaming software, but that's funny. They had a county in Indiana that they called for Kennedy, or that they put a bunch of votes in for Kennedy inexplicably. Here's the breakdown of the Florida electorate, so this is helpful to know. There's about 10,400,000 people vote in Florida. Of that group, Republicans enjoy a pretty significant lead, among registered voters, but then the non-party affiliated voters make up a good chunk. So that's, if Harris is going to have a chance of any in some of these tough states, it's going to be through non-party voters. All right. Let's leave it at that. I'm going to go ahead and sign off this particular stream. We'll do another stream in a little bit, and we'll come back and look at more results. Thank you for tuning in, and we will pick it up here in just